Now, one of the most important thing, Excel as a smart project, as a project management tool. This is the actual raw project planning, which I would you like to learn, so that whatever project management software you use, it will be much simpler to you. Here, what we try to do, we basically, a project management template is an effective tool for any project manager, big or small, or simply simple or complex. In reality, even if the deliverables are small, you still need to estimate how long each task will take, identify the resource required, and assign the activities to team member. And these are the normal process we do as a project manager. That's why it's important to find out the right project management solution to help ensure that your next project is delivered on time, on budget. And for that, we use Excel sheet as our basic planning tool. There are some even templatization within Excel available called Smart Sheet and all. You might use. There are some free sample as well. But I would like you to try try to build the Gantt chart with plain Excel. And for that, we're going to use WBS. And these type of WBS, which we have already tried for house construction, or you can use this template. Okay, now this will be a kind of homework as well. I'll explain you how, and then we'll basically get into the details of what and how to do. Okay, let me play this video for you, and then we'll basically try to understand in one way, or we'll start understanding how we can basically get it done within the best efficiencies of the project management plan. Give me a minute, please. Let me start the video. Yes.
Hello, and welcome to Vertex 42.
Come on.
What?
Could you see the video with the Excel sheet, project title, something?
Yes.
Okay. Now here, we are trying to understand how we can create a project management plan with a basic project management, basic Excel, just basic Excel. I'm not going to tell you to add any third-party tool as of now. Okay, let's hear him out.
Watch this video to learn how I create this Gantt chart template, including features like the scroll bar and the ability to show the progress of each task. List of tasks with start and end dates. The essential information for a Gantt chart is a list of tasks with start and end dates. After making the columns wider, I'll add some data to work with.
Simple enough, we can understand the task here. These tasks are coming from the last level of WBS. And then you can group it together as well. We'll see how, where I normally attach a schedule. Okay. And that's how we're going to basically start our building a Gantt chart. We understood what is Gantt chart, right? Anybody have any confusion on what is Gantt chart? No, that's great. Let's understand.
I'm going to speed up the video here for a bit. To use the default date format, I'll use Control-Shift-3. Then finish the table.
Now, what we did here for a task 1, which is starting on 4th November, which is planned for 3 days. So here, start on 4th, end on 7th, which is actually planned for 4 days. And that's how we have planned. Task 1.2, 7th November to 9th November, and so on and so forth. So I'm planning my task with the attached or activities as per the schedule, which I have think it through, or which we have zeroed down after the estimation. And this is how I'm doing it, simply, right? Any confusion so far?
I have a question. So task 1.1, it starts on 4th November, ends on 7th November. Task 1.2, again, it starts on the same day, 7th November. So is 7th November, like, where is that considered?
Normally, I would like to plan for hourly basis, so you'll understand when to start, when to end. But here they are taking days. So in 7th November, I have 8 days to work, right? Or 6 days of working. So this task 1.1 might be completing by lunchtime. And then after lunchtime, I might start 1.2. If you do plan in hourly basis, you can clearly understand from this task progress bar. Okay, just hold on your question and you'll understand. what I'm trying to say. That's why this Gantt chart is really beautiful way to understand each and every task for a given project, for a given day. Okay, so just hold on your question. But yes, we're going to address that question as well. All this project management plan will, answer all your queries. And if you get it done right, if you try to do a couple of, these things by our next session, I think you can easily be a master of project planning. And that's what I want you to reach. And that's why we normally do these exercises. Okay, just have a look at it. And if you have any queries, do ask. Don't hold on to yourself.
Use the default date format. I'll use Control-Shift-3. Then finish the table. The next step is to create the date range or timeline for the chart area. I'll start with November 1st for now. I want to display just the day of the month, so I'll use a custom number format, D. It's important to realize that these cells are storing the full date, but only displaying the day of the month. I want to show the first letter of the day of the week in the cell below the date. First, I'll use the text function to display the abbreviation for the day of the week. Then I'll use the left function to grab just the first letter of that text. Next, I'll merge these 7 cells to display the full date of the first day of the week. And then need to change the date format back to the default. Now I'm going to select the group of 7 columns and copy it to the right. To make the chart area dynamic, I'll first add a place to enter the project start date. Then I'll link the first cell of the chart area to that date. Then I'll use a formula to add 1 day to each of the next dates. Now when the project start date changes, the chart area will change. When I start formatting, I usually turn the grid lines off. I'll insert a couple rows at the top for a title later. I like table headers that have a dark background with a light font. I'll reduce the font size of the days, and then turn on Shrink to Fit. I'll select the entire worksheet and change the vertical alignment to middle. I'll add some indenting to the tasks. Horizontal borders make a Gantt chart easier to read, so we'll put those in now. I want the project start date to be a longer date format, so I'll merge the cells and make a custom number format. I'll display the day of the week, the day, the month abbreviation, and the full year. I'll add a border to show that this date is meant to be edited. Next, I'll just make the other chart labels a bit more interesting. We can condense things a bit more also. I'll use the format painter to copy the formatting to the next 2 weeks. Now for the tricky part. We could add the bars of the Gantt chart by changing the fill color manually, but that's way too time consuming. So instead, we'll use conditional formatting to shade this cell when the date at the top of the column is within the start date and the end date. First, we'll select all these cells and go to conditional formatting, new rule, then use a formula. We'll use the logical function and set this date greater than or equal to the start, date less than or equal to the end. It's important to create the formula based on the upper left cell in the range. We need to let the columns of the top row change, as well as the rows of the start and end dates. Select the purple theme color. And that's it. Actually, we have some more cool stuff to do. So our timeline currently starts on the same day as the project start, but I want it to always start on Monday. First, I'll name cell B3 Project Start using the name box. Then I'll edit this formula to subtract the weekday of the project start. You can press Tab to choose the selected name. We want option 3, where Monday is 0. Now the weeks in the timeline will start on Monday regardless. Some quick cleanup, and then I'll add a couple more weeks to the chart. Let's Control Spacebar to select the column. Now I'm going to add an input that will let me scroll the Gantt chart. Control D copies down. Then I'll change the label to Display Week. Start with a 1, center it, then I'll add the border. Now I'm going to name this cell using the name box. Call it Display Week. Then edit the first date in the timeline again to add the display week -1 times 7. Now when I change the display week, the dates in the timeline will update, making the Gantt chart appear to scroll. The scroll bar form control is in the developer ribbon. To turn on the developer ribbon, go to File, Options, Customize Ribbon, then select the developer box. To insert the scroll bar, go to Developer, Insert, and select the scroll bar form control. Then click and drag to draw the scroll bar. Right-click on it to select Format Control. Select the cell to link to, which for us is the displayed week. Now you can use the scroll bar to change the display. Adding a line to mark today's date is pretty simple. Go to Conditional Formatting, New Rule, use a formula. The formula is just going to be a comparison of the date at the top of the column to the function today. We'll add red borders so we can still see the bars in the chart. Done. On to the next step. After inserting new columns, the Insert Options button gives options for formatting. I'll choose Format Same as Right. So these cells are formatted as dates. So I'll change them back to the general format. This first new column is for who the task is assigned to. I need to turn on wrap text and reduce the font size a bit. This column will be for entering the current progress, or percent complete. I'm going to use conditional formatting to add progress bars within these cells. These are called data bars. I need to edit the formatting rule to represent 0 to 100%. So I'll set the type to number and set the minimum to 0 and the maximum to 1. And I'll make it gray so it doesn't stand out so much. I need to move these labels now. Cut and paste. I'll add the project title and placeholders for company name and project lead. I want to represent the progress by shading a portion of the bar with a conditional formatting rule. That works essentially like this, where ones are shaded and zeros are not. This is kind of hard to see, so I'll change the font to white. I'm going to create this formula in stages, using names to make it easier to read. The date at the top of the column needs to be within the start and end dates. But now the end is calculated by adding the start date plus the days complete minus 1 day. And I need the date row to remain fixed. This formula doesn't work yet because I haven't defined the names. I'll go to Formulas, Name Manager, New, enter Task Start, set the scope to this sheet, then select the Start cell and make the row number relative. I'll create one for task end as well. These are what we call relative named ranges. I'll create one more for the task progress column. Now I need to expand the days complete to finish the formula. This is the task progress times the total days, which is task end minus task start plus 1. Oh, I forgot to convert the Boolean to ones and zeros. There we go. I'll copy that over and test it out. Looks like it's working, so I'll copy the formula. Go to home, and I need to hit escape because I'm still in edit mode. I'll select the range and then add a new conditional formatting rule. Paste the formula, then choose gray fill color. Great, clear these cells, then try it out. The last thing I'll do is define the print settings. A Gantt chart usually works better in landscape orientation. I set margins to narrow, but I want the top and bottom margins smaller, so I'll change them to 1/2 inch. Then change the scaling to fit on 1 page wide, and I don't want to print the scroll bar. With objects like the scroll bar, you can right-click, go to Properties, and uncheck Print Object. Now let's go to Page Layout and set rows to repeat on each page. I'll add page numbers to the footer. I'll finish with adding my logo. I hope watching this video has helped you learn at least a few new things about Excel. This is the first video of a new series. I'll be creating other useful spreadsheets and showing how to add features to this Gantt chart. So if you want more, remember to subscribe and tell us what you liked.
I'll share the link and you can basically try to do these things. This is one of the easiest way to plan your Gantt chart by yourself. Okay, this is like you are recreating the Microsoft project. Well, in Jira, the Gantt chart is basically kind of add-on. So yes, you can plan your task, and after planning your task, the Jira also did almost similar thing. So here, what you're trying to do in a snapshot, if you look at the whole project progress, you are getting a complete idea of where do I stand today, how many tasks are completed, how many tasks were supposed to completed. So if I'm on 20th November, all these tasks should have been completed to the 100%. But if not, so I'm lagging here. The example which he is given, right? Now here have used some phony task name. You can use the task name from your WBS exercise. Again, I'll repeat. If you don't showcase your work, I'll assume it's done and you are proficient in it. If you want to showcase your work, do showcase your work, and we'll understand if there are any shortcomings. If you did explainingly well, the other can also learn from you. And this is how we do a group learning. Again, that's my way of thinking. You might differ, so I'm really open. If you want to showcase your work, I would really love to hear from you in the next session where we might discuss your project. Okay, whatever work breakdown structure you try to complete, please try to use those task name. Try to give resources whatever you fill. Try to include the name in assigned to column. Try to give a start date and end date to each of your activities, the task, and then try to understand how these Gantt charts are looking. Okay, does that make sense to you? Any question for me on these?
No.
Okay, even I learned my project planning this way. And once you have these templates ready-made or created by yourself, you know how these tasks are progressed in every project management software. So this is the basic. And how do we reach to these basics? We've understood scope management. We understood what is that? After scope, we have uh, schedule management and then resource management. Well, we're going to learn the resource management in depth later on, but at least you have applied a resource to a given project. So we have scope, schedule, and resource gives you actual cost. I can calculate the cost based on this Excel sheet as well. Just think it through. If you are, really brilliant, you can easily mention the cost here as well. But think it through. If you can't, we'll discuss in our next session. Okay. Let me, progress on my PPT, and we'll take another maximum slide where we'll understand. Okay. I'm going to share this PPT with you so that you can use these WS also. Like this WS is of house construction, which is shared by one of my students in our last class batch, where I find it's quite relative. Okay. So if you go at the, last part of, this WS, let's say cure and strip forms. Okay. So here what he is trying to do, you can actually estimate the tasks, the joist, the HAVC, high voltage, equipment, the test and clean, the roofing, the hardware. I can actually mention number of hours, and it's again an estimation on my gut feeling. I am not a civil engineer, so I might, might not estimate accurately. But if you know something about civil, you can clearly mention the number of hours for each and every task. Then the excavate is my group task in the foundation, in the house construction type of project. So house construction is my project name, foundation is my group task name, and then I have these three tasks planned under foundation called excavate, pour concrete, cure and strip forms, and something like that. So you can use your name as well. No worries there. But please give it a try. It'll hardly take an hour and a half at the max. Okay. The other WS I'm sharing with you is basically a commercial project, initiation, planning, execution, control, closeout. It's a more of generic nature. Okay. So you can use any WS or you can use whatever WS you have already created. So I have given you all the options to do this homework. Okay. Any confusion so far on what to do as far as homework goes?
No, sir.
Okay. So please, my humble request, please do try this thing. If you have any challenge in understanding, that will reflect in creating this Excel sheet. Okay. I'm going to share the video. I'm going to share all these, PPT as well, so you can go through the complete, knowledge area. And then if you have any challenge, you can ask me question on WhatsApp, or we can discuss in our next session as well. I'm going to release the recording in a couple of hours. So if you still missed something, please have a look at the recordings as well. The way we are looking for is something like this. This is the actual Microsoft project, screenshot. These are all plus signs. These are group tasks. These are subgroup tasks. And then we have a project name and so on and so forth. Okay. You have to have at least 10, 12 tasks. Try to give a calendar or a Gantt chart to it so that we will understand how we are doing in terms of tasks progress, in terms of calculating the exact project at a given instance of a time. Okay. Any questions as of now?
No.
Okay. So let me stop the session right now, and I'll share these presentation slide with you in a couple of minutes so that we can start work right now, or you can, get your homework done tomorrow as well. Okay. Chalo then. Thanks a lot for your time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.
Good night.
When is the next class, sir?
Day after tomorrow, ma'am. Today is 25th, right? We have session on 27th, right? Sorry, today is 24th. We have session on 26th.
26. Okay.
26th.
So I have a small question.
Please go ahead, sir. No problem.
Is it possible to send this the PPT to us, like the 147?
I'm sharing with you. Give me a couple of minutes. I'm going to share this PPT with you.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks.
And include I normally share even the YouTube link as well. So you can go
Yeah.
to the YouTube, comment, even get contacted with, if you like the training and all, you can get contact with the training as well. He has his own website page, and that's really good work he have done in terms of creating the Excel sheet for the Gantt chart. And it's one of the most raw way how you can learn the Gantt chart. That's why I normally present this thing. I'm doing this thing for last 3 years. So it's really good way to, start understanding Gantt chart. Okay. Any other question for me at this moment?
No, sir. Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks a lot. Have a good night to you too. Bye. Take care.
Thank you.
Most welcome, man.